Just to mention, Khalid, it's Act+Acre instead of Act+Care.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. All right. A very warm good morning and good afternoon to all of you, depending upon the time zone you're in. Welcome to the North America E-commerce Growth Summit 2021. My name is Kuldeep Thakre, and I'm the Senior Strategist at Enalito Automation. We are a technology company working in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning, solving problems around retail and e-commerce. I'm really excited to welcome our panelist in today's session, and it's going to be a very interesting session as all of our panelists are from different backgrounds and they have created a very unique space for their business, and we would love to learn more about what they do and how they do it. And let me begin with a formal introduction of our panelists. Let me begin with Carol. Carol Tuttle is the founder at liveyourtruth.com. Carol graduated from Brigham Young University, and she is in the field of lifestyle and wellness coaching. She has authored 5 books, and she's a teacher, speaker, healer, and a personal development pioneer. She has been in the field of content marketing and fashion and apparel industry for the last 25 years. Carol, welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Next we have on the panel is David Simnick. David is the CEO and co-founder at Soapbox, working in the space of consumer goods. He is also the managing partner at Impact Driven Brands and graduated from American University. He is a strategic advisor at Spiro, and he has worked in various organizations such as USAID, the US Army, Michelle Rhee, and the US Senate. And he was also a part of Teach for America in Northern Philadelphia. David has also delivered a TED Talk on why great leaders need authenticity. And David is a phenomenal leader. David, welcome to the panel.
It's a humbling honor to be here. By the way, that TED Talk was not that great. It was a very humbling experience. Make sure you're prepared before you ever actually get on stage at a TED Talk. Words
Awesome.
the wise.
So nice. Thank you, David. Yeah, sure. Next we have on the panel with us is Colm Mackin. Colm is the CEO at Act+Acre, which is into hair and wellness space. Colm has a bachelor's degree in international business from University of Ulster, and he has been a senior economist at Morgan Stanley previously, and he has also been part of founder of Next Steps program, and he is an expert in transfer pricing and corporate tax. So, Colm, welcome to the panel.
Thanks. Yeah, I made the natural move after spending 11 years giving corporate tax advice to selling shampoo. So that was just it's the obvious move for tax attorneys.
Awesome. Great to have you. Next we have on the panel is Trevor Crump. Trevor is the CMO at Fawndesign, and he's also been a co-founder of LabWork Media. Trevor has a bachelor's degree from University of Utah and MSc in Strategic Communication from Westminster College. He has previous experience as head of marketing at Asher Golf and senior director of digital marketing at Upwell Health. And he loves creating content, and he's a gifted and talented digital marketer, and he loves entrepreneurship. Trevor, welcome to the panel.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. Next we have on the panel with us is Jennifer Hillman. Jennifer is the co-founder of LuxAnthropy, which is into high fashion resale. Jennifer has a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics and political science from Denison University, and she has been the vice president of global communication at Estee Lauder Company and for a very long time. And she is highly skilled at public relation and has industry knowledge on cosmetics and luxury. And her brand, sells new and gently used high fashion items from closets and homes of philanthropically minded celebrities and influencers to support their favorite causes. Jennifer, welcome to the panel.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. I'm really excited to have all of you today. And without further ado, let me begin. And the first question that I have for all of you here is around purpose. What is the purpose of your brand? Let me begin with Trevor.
Yeah, so our purpose is, to understand our purpose, you have to understand our customer. Our customer, it's a new mom, and one of the biggest things we hear from new moms is that they tend to lose their ethos and who they are as they put all their time and attention into the kids. Sometimes they aren't able to get dressed in the mornings, and they don't get to put their makeup on. And so what we did is we created a diaper bag and some other accessories that focuses very much on mom rather than the baby. And so it's a mom bag rather than a baby bag. And so it allows mothers to keep their identity and what matters most to them in this fashion space.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Great. Let me go to Colm.
Yeah, like the what we found was my wife's kind of one of the biggest female hairstylists in the world, and she works with fashion brands, with celebrities, and was at one of those shows that we kind of realized, and I realized, coming from a completely different background, how important scalp health was. And it was a very condensed version, but because it was from a finding of the models were going from New York to Paris to Milan, from New York to London to Paris, and at the backstage of Fashion Week, and Helen was leading shows, that scalp health was incredibly important because their hair was really terrible and they had inflamed scalps and everything. And Helen was talking to me about how important scalp health was, and this was kind of like an expedited version of this. And we started trying to understand the category, and really what we find is brands out there are talking about these short-term gains, about like have lustrous hair, have volume, have shine, but that's coming at the expense of health. It's coming at the expense of your skin health, your scalp health, and your hair health. And we want to kind of change the playbook and really go back to what matters, and is having a clean scalp and using products that kind of nurture growth and nurture the kind of vitality of the hair follicle, and not just using these really stripping shampoos and really conditioning conditioners and masks. And so it's about simplifying, and it's about providing solutions to problems that exist, and just getting you back to that health and the hair that you had as a child.
Wow, excellent, Com. I mean, you really found you found out a problem and you are trying to solve that. Wow, that's very, very interesting, amazing. Would love to know more about that. Wonderful. Let me go to David now. David, your purpose of the brand?
Yeah, so ours is a little more based on someone else not a part of the equation. Soapbox sells body wash, liquid hand soap, bar soap, lotions, Colm shampoo, conditioner. Completely agree with your insights in terms of scalp health. And we sell in places like Walgreens, Rite Aid, CVS, Target, and a bunch of other retailers throughout the United States. Every time someone buys one of our products, we're making a commitment to donate a bar of soap. How that bar of soap takes form all depends on where we're working. So we have the privilege of working both here in the States in local homeless shelters and food pantries, of which your audience may or may not know that food assistance programs, often referenced as food stamps, do not cover hygiene products in the United States. So we really pick up the tab for local homeless shelters and food pantries that have shower programs and or offer those items to their clients. Mm-hmm. But then we also have the privilege of working in 65 countries around the world. So how that works is we actually don't ship soap from the United States to those countries. We actually work with those 501c3s on the ground to actually fund local makers or local recycling efforts in order to produce that soap, a part of various different water sanitation and hygiene programs. It's an absolute pleasure to do what we do. And our whole way that we look at this is if you're making a phenomenal product, then the consumer really is the change agent that's making that difference. And we just seek to empower that customer with the ability to make that change.
Wow, that's superb. I really like that. I mean, that's a very, very empowering way to do business, and it's basically involving the stakeholders and kind of empowering them and kind of changing the lives. I mean, that's very, very commendable. Excellent work, David. Thank you. Let me go to Jennifer now. Jennifer, your brand's purpose.
Sure. So LuxAnthropy, what we're doing is actually inherent in our name. So we took luxury and philanthropy and combined them to create our name, LuxAnthropy. And what we're doing, we're in the designer resale space, which is a huge market. It's on trajectory to be 64 billion in 2024. What we're doing that's different is that we've created a place where people can make money and give money by selling items from their closet. We're based in Los Angeles, so we have access to closets from, stylists to celebrities to people who are just complete fashionistas and want to sell their items to make some money and give some money to charities that they love. And we're always bringing new charities on board. We currently have around 25 charities all across the board as options to donate to, from Children's Hospital Los Angeles to St. Jude to animal shelters to Children of War Foundation to Alzheimer's. So we have just a slew of different charities that we partner with that people can support.
Wow, excellent. So you're marrying your purpose with kind of helping the community, and that's a very, very amazing thing, because if you're able to do that, the kind of it's really amazing to see how businesses are kind of taking that extra efforts and not just working for profit, but it's basically kind of making sure that it's helping the society in so many different ways and touching the lives of so many different people around them. And commendable, Jennifer. Keep doing that. Wow. Let me go to Carol. Carol, your brand's purpose.
I create content that in 3 brands that we have 3 different websites at dressingyourtruth.com. The basis of that brand is women go through a profiling system to understand which one of a 4-type profiling system they lead with. And from that, once they understand their type or their true nature, they understand a lot more about their natural gifts, their tendencies, who they are. And it's a profiling system that applies to anyone. It's any reference to, it's our human nature that we're looking at, which goes deeper than personality. And so the real focus in that brand is to help women shift from a shame-based reference of their appearance and body to one of truth-based, because once they take the profiling system, I have a free course that teaches them how to now put a style together and to work with fashion as a tool rather than a system that's supposed to make up for the common sort of messaging in the fashion industry is women believe they're flawed, and the fashion system is where you try and make up the difference. And I have a counter message to that when you don't understand yourself and your type of beauty, then your thinking is flawed and you don't know how to use the system to your benefit. And once they go through my system, they completely change their reference to their own self-identity, and then they have a working knowledge of how to put together a style with design line, texture, color, fabrication, pattern that matches them. And they come alive. I mean, our before and afters are jaw-dropping. I can take, women are prematurely aging themselves and because they don't have this knowledge. So we have a prolific outreach. We really focused heavily on driving a lot of traffic because we are exclusively an online company. And then on the back end of that, once they've gone through and discovered their type, we have a retail line. Makeup, jewelry, hair care, skin care, And we run very active, very popular Facebook groups. So we're very community based. I'm a big personality with the brand. I'm very involved. They feel like they have a relationship with me. And our Facebook groups run about 35,000 members, and they're very, very active, up in the 95% of engagement on a daily basis.
Wow, that's excellent, Carol. I mean, I must say that that's a very, very empowering thing for individuals, because
We're very diverse because we're we're doing retail, we're doing online. We create our own course content, we build our own platforms.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's really amazing. I mean, from the five of you, I can understand that how significant it is, that everything that you're doing. And my next question is around that also, which is, we are living in a very dynamic world where there's so many variables. I mean, last year has been challenging. This year maybe full of opportunities. How is your brand gearing up for this year or the years after, in terms of what are your consumer engagement strategies for this year in order to take your brand to the next level? Let me go to Colm to begin with.
Definitely listening more and realizing that the conventional way of thinking it's gone, really. You know, something that we done in the start of January was that we do a post-purchase survey. Like, one of the findings we have is like the most engaged you'll ever have someone is the moment they click the button to buy, is the most engaged they'll ever be with your brand, because that's the moment that they commit themselves to it. And then we always serve up a post-purchase question, and so we change that up every few days just to gather more insights. And one that we did in January was that, do you still feel that January is the best month to detox? Now, conventional wisdom will tell you everybody's going to say yes, and especially our consumer, the modern luxury consumer that really takes care of themselves, that's bought into this here new hair wellness system. Overwhelmingly, people said no, which is a real surprise. And if we looked at all of our competitors,
Hillman was just telling us straight out, like, no, like that's not what we want. Another great example was that we also asked, you know, a lot of people are expressing political views. Do you want us to do that? And again, our consumer said no, which was again really interesting. And we try to do that as often as possible, because it really shapes. If people talk about, like, you know, I formed the consumer in my head, and she has a name. Well, that's great as a starting, but you need to continue to develop that over and over and over again. And then it's that repetition. And it's kind of just like the 10,000 hours theory. Like, the more you learn and constantly ask questions, it just builds a better form. And I think just remembering that it's different, and people are feeling different right now, and just ask them as much as you can.
Awesome. Wow, that's pretty interesting. So you're following that survey method in order to understand what the consumers are thinking, and kind of taking it from there. Amazing. Let me go to Trevor. What are some of the engagement strategies that you have thought of?
Yeah, I resonate. We resonate a lot with what Colm's saying there too. You know, I think people talk about talking to the customer a lot, but at the end of the day, when you start a brand, you kind of forget how important that is, right? We all talk about it, and it's nothing new, yet I don't think the majority of businesses are doing it, especially in the direct-to-consumer world. One of the big things that I'm just kind of seeing trend-wise, as you know, looking at, you know, we have a massive social media presence, you know, so social media is really, really key. So we're constantly listening and mining comments and figuring out what's going on with people. We send out post-transactional surveys as well, just like Colm said as well. And that's where you get some of your best information about your customers. And one of the things that I'm starting to realize is, you know, with everything that's happened from the pandemic, we've lost, you know, like humanity has lost a lot of this like physical communication, you know, and interaction. And so I'm starting to see this trend where brands need to be taking on similar characteristics as what a personal brand might do. So what I mean by that is you get somebody, you know, just take somebody famous that you look at as an individual person, like Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a big marketing guy, right? For example, he's got a personal brand that he's talking, and his face is right there all the time. I think that that's something that brands need to start looking more into, is having a more personal involvement with the customer, to be able to engage and learn and hear everything that they can, to constantly, because like Colm brought up a huge thing, right? Self-care in January is normally the best, like the most important thing, and it's not anymore. Like, how would he know that if he wasn't talking to his customer? You know, and what does that do to his strategy? What does that do to my strategy and everybody else's strategy here? So the more you can be in their face and having a one-on-one interaction with them, I think the more likely you are to excel in 2021 and throughout, you know, moving forward.
Wow, that's a very, very interesting insight that you shared there, like how a brand needs to kind of learn from the consumers by being there. And you mentioned that example of Gary, big fan of him. And I think what he does is truly amazing. And I think if brand starts doing that, or probably is able to accelerate that and have more engaging conversation with individual customers, definitely surveys are one way to do that. Wow, some excellent insights can come up, and maybe and consumers are always have a very different thought process, and that's excellent thought. We are going to touch upon that, Trevor. David, how about you? What are some of the thought strategies that you have thought of going forward?
You know, it's interesting with our brands. Some are more digitally native. Some are definitely more brick and mortar. And I think to Trevor's recent point, we're very mindful about the individuals that we put in front of certain brands. So for example, we acquired a baby company. We're in talks with a celebrity founder that's going to be a part of that baby company. And all of the conversations about, you know, what personalities or what type of personality does this celebrity have, and how does that resonate with particular demographics, has been really interesting. And I think the other thing is that, you know, for us, the way that we look at it is, we want to try to make it as easy as possible for any of our brands to have maximum impact. And thankfully, you know, being a purpose-driven company, just like all the other speakers on this panel, means that the better we do financially, the more good we can do on an impact side. So thankfully that, you know, that there's perfect alignment in that. But it's something we think about a lot. And, you know, what are the brand personalities? Who do they speak to, and who do they not speak to? You know, Soapbox sells in more food, drug, mass, club. I think Sephora is really interesting. We're never going to sell in it with that brand. Like, we're just not. If you sell in, you know, Walgreens and CVS and Target, you're not going to sell in Sephora. You could start in Sephora and eventually go down to Target, but you're probably going to hurt relationships or fray relationships with your department stores or Sephora. So I think it's really interesting. You know, with Bushwick, for example, it's definitely a more premium brand. And while we have some of the connections more on the food side, so retailers in the United States like Wegmans or Publix or HEB, and we would really love to, you know, take that brand to those retailers, we have to be really careful not to upset the premium aspect of that brand. So product market fit, I think, is incredibly important whenever you're designing either a service and or a new product, whether it be digital or whether it be physical. And I also think, you know, for us, there's a couple things that we're doing later this year that are going to be the first time that we actually really invest significantly in a guerrilla marketing activation. So that's going to be interesting. Unfortunately, I cannot disclose it now, but when we're talking about, you know, what does it look like in terms of the things that we're most excited for in terms of marketing, we want to do something that lives in the physical space, but is amplified digitally.
Wow, excellent. Wow. Okay, something that lives in the physical space but amplified digitally. Wow, that's a very, very interesting insight. Thank you, David. I'd like to go to Jennifer. How about you, Jennifer? You've built your brand, you've taken it to a level. Okay, but what are the plans for this year for consumer engagement?
Sure. Yeah, it's so interesting to listen to the other speakers. For us, the result of the pandemic is we've seen people's buying habits have really evolved. So frugality and thriftiness have really become have really heightened as a result of the pandemic. So for us, that's been interesting. And then in terms of seeing new people shop resale more than ever before, right? But then also with our differentiator, with our charity component, it's been interesting to see that what it really is the icing on the cake for the customer who's coming to our website to buy items, because every item on our website supports a charity, right? So but the customer isn't making the donation, the seller's making the donation, right? So the customer just has a feel good. They walk away feeling good that they know the item that they bought is helping a cause that's making a difference. One example of that is, we had a customer reach out to us, and they'd been looking for a Louis Vuitton bag, and they were so excited that they found it, but they were even more excited that it supported the Breast Cancer Research Foundation because they're a breast cancer survivor. So that felt good, knowing that the seller was making a donation, that LuxAnthropy was making a donation from the sale of that bag to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. So people are really also trying to give back in ways that that they maybe haven't thought of in the past, pre-pandemic, because they're seeing that there are so many people and others in need. So, and they may not be able to go and volunteer and get out of their house, but they feel good knowing that a purchase is helping someone else. And the other thing that we're doing with our charities is they're reaching out, and they have been always, but more so reaching out to their influencers and supporters of their charity, and asking them if they have items in their closet that they would like to sell to support their charity. We had Elizabeth Hurley. We created a collection of items from her Breast Cancer Research Foundation tour, and she talked about it on Instagram, and she got, so many, thousands and thousands of likes and accolades, and her collection basically sold out overnight. So we know that that's another way for influencers to connect with their audiences and show, that they're excited about a charity, they're passionate about a charity, and they're helping in the way that they can.
Wow, wonderful. That's a very, very interesting insight that you shared there. And yeah, influencer marketing has its own ways of outreach and to kind of create that impact. And I think since your brand is solving a very, very important problem, I think, and it's kind of connecting the problems with people. And I think people these days are becoming more conscious of what they buy, and they want to purchase things from brands which are socially responsible. So I think that truly resonate with what you are doing. So that's amazing. I mean, so glad to see that one purchase, how much impact it can make. And from the consumer side of it's really empowering. I mean, the consumer gets that satisfaction when they do something like that. Amazing. Oh. Carol, how about you? You are kind of in helping the brands as well as you are a brand. So how do you look at things like in today's dynamic?
Yeah, I am the face of the brand, no question.
Yeah.
I'm very visible on multiple. I'm an online influencer because of my social media following, which collectively reaches about 400,000 at this point. So I'm highly visible and personally involved in, we were well positioned for what happened in 2020, in that we launched Facebook groups the very year they offered them. And we've been building and fine tuning the ability to run communities online through Facebook with knowing how to now moderate them, how to create just a very excellent space for people to be able to come together. The women that come together in our groups are very, they want to talk about what they're learning from me, what they're putting to practice in their life. They want to share their outfits, their new looks. They want to share their family stories. And so a big thing that happened that was very tricky last year when you're an online influencer was the pressure to go off message and get political. And I was committed to not doing that because I knew it would come and go and it would just really burn a lot of bridges, because I really have a great ability to be very neutral in my online presence and really support everyone in their story and what they're creating and, you know, what's influenced that. I just don't judge it. And it was a landmine, man. It was tough because it was so much pressure, especially around June, July. But we navigated it. And so what I ended up doing, rather than talking about the issues, I talked about how they were affecting us emotionally, mentally, and our well-being. And because I have a big brand that's all about natural healing and self-help, I taught strategies and techniques to deal with this and navigate this experience we were all having without having to put my opinion on it. Well, and so we use Facebook quite a bit for Facebook Lives. We're ramping up our membership sites are our highest income generators. We've built some very content-rich membership sites. Those have private Facebook groups. They're very, very active and focused very much on enriching that experience. So we bring more people into that membership space. I do a live coaching call for each of the two membership sites once a month. And we just made a decision. We're going to actually do our first one tonight. We do them once a month to go off a platform called StreamYard and actually run our coaching calls on Zoom. And we're dedicating the last 15, 20 minutes to opening up the call for all of the members to personally interact with each other.
Wonderful. That's
so
great.
Our customers are talking to each other all the time.
Wow, that's pretty amazing and wonderful to know that. Great.
And I have a rock star support team. They're essential.
Amazing.
My support team are all former customers that love my content. They use it in their lives and they are fun. And my Facebook moderators. I'm very blessed to have people that represent me impeccably.
Wonderful. That's absolutely essential, because I think as a brand, it's a combination of not just the product or the service that you're selling, but it's the stakeholders.
Yeah, we sell
who
an
are
experience. Yeah, we really do. We're selling an experience that's life-changing for people.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great to know that. My next question for all of you is, okay, you have established your brand, you have taken it to the next level, and you have established your presence, but how do you understand your consumer behavior? How do you make sure that you know about your consumers' behavior? Like, how do you understand which are your VIP customers, which are the set of customers that your business is about to lose? How do you make that data-driven decision? I mean, extremely essential in today's time, because I think acquiring a new consumer is extremely difficult in today's time, and losing would be a bad thing that can happen for a business. And in order to ensure that you have the highest retention rate, how do you do that? I mean, how do you deep dive into your consumer data and behavior? Trevor, if you would like to shed some light.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I mean, I think everybody has seen the statistics that it costs a lot less money to retain a customer than it does to acquire one. And with everything that's happening in the paid world, and it just costs more and more and more. It's a pay-to-play game. Organic is harder and harder to achieve. Virality is harder and harder to achieve. And so you really are in a tough spot. Fawndesign, it's a very different company, because our customer in the beginning, we launched 7 years ago. Our customer in the beginning, if you think about it, at the end, our main customer is a new mom. And so some of our biggest selling products and our hero products are products that are helping out a new mom. So our customer is constantly, it's staying the same, but our customers tend to grow out of us.
Correct.
Right? So we have to play, this game is really important for us, not only acquisition, but retention. So our biggest thing personally has been our product strategy. When you only have one product, for example, like ours at the beginning, which was a diaper bag, after 2 years, you lose that person, right? Women aren't buying diaper bags over and over and over and over again, right? So all you're doing is acquiring people, and eventually that costs a lot of money, And with the trends of how much it costs from an acquisition perspective, there's a time where, like, if that's all we did, we could be in a lot of trouble. So I think first and foremost is you have to make sure that your product strategy is spot on, not only from a cost effectiveness, but from a pricing perspective, and then really understanding your customer. This goes back to talking to your customers to say, okay, what happens after, somebody's baby starts walking? What point do they transition out of a diaper bag, and what do they need from there? And how do we educate them? So to me, retention is an education strategy. We have at Fawndesign, we have acquisition products and we have retention products. That's how we focus our world. So when we're building a new product and developing a new product, we're saying, hey, okay, who is this for? Who's going to buy this? Is this going to be something that we're going to sell to a net new person, or is this going to be something we're going to sell to somebody who's already bought with us at some point in time? And how can we get that buying time frame to shrink more and more? And so I really look at, like, one, you have to understand what your customer is. Two, you have to understand what your product strategy is. And if I can add a third one, is you really have to understand what your funnel is after you get a customer. What's happening, after you get a customer, and what does that customer journey look like? And the better you can understand that, the better you can strategize and really, really understand what you need to do to retain that customer and not have to put as much money into acquisition marketing.
Wonderful. That's a very, very great thought process, I must say. And I think in your case, I think your existing customers, they themselves are the brand ambassadors, I think, because what they are kind of using from your brand.
Absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you look at, when we figure out where our customers are coming from, like our new customers, 40% of them are referred from a friend.
Wow.
That's one of our biggest marketing channels, which is really awesome for us.
Wow. That's pretty great number. I mean, 40%. Wow. Yeah. Because that kind of.
Trevor, I'm happy to give you any insight. I have a 9-year-old, and I went through many diaper bags that I wish that they lasted longer and I could evolve them into something else.
Wonderful.
We hear that a lot. Yeah, I understand completely.
Absolutely. And I think because most of the time it's actually the existing customers who themselves who have used your product or used your service, I think they are in a better position to kind of pass on that message, because I think marketing is so much evolving. And with the amount of advertising that's happening, as Trevor has mentioned earlier, how organic marketing and paid marketing is becoming costlier day by day for brands. And the amount of information that consumers are consuming on a daily basis, I think to break free from that and to kind of make a space in the consumer's mind is a very, very challenging thing. And I think your existing consumers, when they become the brand ambassadors, I think you can easily break that barrier, because consumers trust other consumers. So I think, Trevor, I think kudos. I think hope that number become 50% or time, hopefully. Amazing.
Yep.
How about you, Colm? How do you understand your consumer behavior, like the existing consumers that you have already acquired? How do you deep dive into your data?
Yeah, we kind of had a finding earlier in the year that it's not just what the message is, it's also how it's being delivered. So we changed from sending on customer service. Obviously, that's our most interactive when people are reaching out with a problem. And we changed it to just leaving voice notes for everyone, which was a big change for us, and it worked really, really well. And so anytime you DM us or you email us, we will leave you a voice note. And my wife Helen, who's usually on set for most of the year with our clients, was last year everyone was grounded. All the celebrities that weren't performing, there was nothing being shot. So she was kind of with us in the team all year, and we were able to leverage that. And what we done was just offer consultations. So she completed like thousands of consultations last year. She was doing them back to back every 30 minutes. And then we would kind of have a structure in place that we could kind of gather some information at the end of the call. It's like, okay, well, just very quickly, what are the brands you like? Why do you like them? Like, what's important to you? Because there's one thing about, you create a brand and but it's not yours. It's your brand belongs to someone else. It belongs to the world. So it's whatever they think it is. So, and that's what's important. And you kind of have to meet people with where they are. And a good example of that was our kind of sustainability efforts. So we were super sustainable with 90% less energy, creation of the product, post-recyclable waste. We've got all these here. We fund wind farms in Mumbai, but honestly, it's never really kind of moved the needle for us from a brand perspective. From business, it doesn't matter. Like anyone that's trying to win a business by using sustainability, it's just flawed. From a brand perspective, I never felt like we really kind of it took fire until we released the packaging. So we brought it in. So all of our packaging is also super sustainable, but we released these refill pouches and everybody loved them. Like they sold out within a week. We totally sold out. And it was crazy. And it was kind of like one of those things of understanding that people want to hear about you. They don't want you to tell them about things you're doing. They want to be part of that. They want to kind of feel like they're making a difference. And all you're doing is making it easier for them to make a difference.
Wow.
And that's been wildly successful. So really understanding. So now we're like, okay, well, when it comes to sustainability, which is a brand pillar, actions speak louder than words. And it has to be action. And like, forget about putting new logos on the website and doing this and that and getting approved by this board. It doesn't matter. No one cares. Like, no one cares. What people do care about is actually taking action and giving them the tools to take action. So again, it's back to what we were talking about and what Trevor was talking about, is kind of asking more questions and getting more answers and bringing it to life. It's not a matter of just asking the questions. How does that bring to life? What are the real takeaways from this year? And how do we implement that? And then implementing it and then testing it again and saying, do you actually care about this year? And going again and again and getting that feedback loop.
Wonderful. Wow, that's really interesting. I think so. You are kind of involving your consumers directly in the process. I mean, not just, I mean, they're kind of embracing what you're doing. And I think that's a very, very impactful way to do business. And I think it has its own advantages and amazing. That's a very great insight for any
I suppose the other thing is not being too precious about your ideas. So you have this amazing idea about like whatever it is. We have these here like refill pouches. No, these bags that we sent out to everyone initially, and they were really cool because they were like you put the bottles into the bag and then you close the bag, and then when you're on airplanes, they were insular. So when you go on airplanes, it kept the temperature of the product stable, so your product doesn't expand when it gets frozen on the plane. We think these are amazing, but no one else cared. We just tell the story all the time. Yeah, you know, it's really cool. You can take your products traveling and everything. No one cared, and it took so long for us to actually take that on board and actually be like, you know what? Maybe people just don't care. Maybe this is not as good an idea, and sometimes you just have to really double down. And maybe it's not a good idea. Just move on. Don't be too precious with your ideas.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the pace of innovation, especially in the retail world, is tremendous, and I think it's just a matter of time before. But as you mentioned it rightly, that implement those ideas and keep on kind of incrementally improving them, because I think that's how you can learn from the experiences that you will have while implementing any of the ideas. Amazing. Let me go to Jennifer. Jennifer, how do you understand your behavior? You already have found out the buyer persona for your kind of products, but how do you deep dive to make sure that you are able to derive like more lifetime value from your existing set of customers? How do you do that?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. And Colm, I loved listening to you and your "don't be so precious with your ideas" comment. I think
yeah, because they're probably bad anyway. I know they're bad.
Right. We're always thinking of new ideas. Some land more better than others, right? I think that what we're seeing, everybody, no one wants new things in their closet just to have new things in their closet, right? You're not going to buy something just because it supports a charity. But if you're looking for something to buy and it's an amazing item, then the fact that it supports an incredible charity is icing on the cake, right? So, but I think what we really wanted to drive home was to quantify how this purse is making a difference, right? So what we do is we work really closely with our charities. One of them, an example we use with Project Angel Food, which is an amazing charity here in Los Angeles that feeds so many people in need. And we had some celebrity items, and we were speaking with Elle Magazine, we were able to explain to them that the sale of this one Gucci handbag was gonna equate into 50 meals. So that type of quantifying what the give is really was able, we can tell that it made a difference, and people, as opposed to, oh, we support this charity or that charity, to really quantify what the give back is, really helped drive it home.
Wonderful. That's an amazing way to put it. And because if your consumers know what exactly they're buying and how it's going to make an impact, I think it solves the problem. I think you're conveyed the brand's purpose, and I think the consumer have embraced it. And what better way to kind of make the consumer keep on coming back to you and keep on buying from you throughout their life cycle. Excellent. How about you, David? Like, how do you do that? Like, you have a very solid presence in all these different, like offline brands and different malls. And how do you kind of understand the behavior of your consumers from different channels?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Shopify has some fantastic reporting that you can basically dig into the people who are coming to you directly. Amazon, if you sign up for their brand intelligence, is just phenomenal. You can see what is going into their cart when they choose you, in terms of what else is in that basket. What happens in terms of when they don't. Helium 10, which is just a Chrome plugin. I cannot recommend that high enough in terms of just looking at what's happening on Amazon, looking at trends, looking at what consumers are starting to dial in, and then seeing, we've launched a bunch of products that have worked online and then haven't worked in brick and mortar. We've also launched products that have had the inverse, that work in brick and mortar but don't work online. It's interesting. We've been doing this for 10 years, and I'd say that when we were first, and we still have a long way to go, but like now, thankfully, we have IRI and Nielsen panel data, which is crazy. Like the insights that we can get from that, the household penetration that, depending on the brand we're talking about, looking at loyalty and looking at what else is is, or where she's shopping. It's fascinating. So I think it depends on the stage that your company is in. Early on, talk to your early customers, your most loyal customers, figure out why they like you, why they continue to come back to you. I'm a big believer in sneezers, and in a sense that Tim Ferriss, and the idea that you should just lean into the people who really love you. I also love really niched brands that have an incredibly strong following. See the same thing with certain types of brick and mortar companies when we're assessing whether it makes sense to acquire a brand. If they're only in 100 doors, but yet they're outselling all their competitors, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, that's a heck of a lot stronger of a business than if you're in 10,000 doors and you're selling below the category average. So I think there's so much power in understanding your consumer. The nichier, the better, just as a blanket statement, but not always true. And then, as you progress and grow, there's just a bunch of data that you can get your hands on, but you have to figure out, what is worth your time and what are the KPIs that really matter. I do want to go back to something that Jennifer said about 20 minutes ago that really struck home for me, and that is charity is great and wonderful, but I can tell you from really bad experience. So this is what Soapbox looks like today. This is what Soapbox used to look like. Bad, good, or at least better, right? I think there's some tweaks that we can do to make this, but this is awful. This is horrific. Like, do not do this. Anyone who's watching this, unless you want to waste a lot of money, then this is an excellent way to do that. So, we thought that people cared so much about the mission that on that previous branding, we took up about 25% space on the front pack. And the truth is that they don't. Like, we're a purpose-driven brand. All of our brands have purpose, but the, Everlane or, companies are like Function of Beauty, like companies where the mission coincides with the central value prop. That's where we see a lot of really just awesome success with a brand. So what do I mean by that is, like, the further your mission is away from, like, drawing attention away from why your value proposition is better to the end consumer, the more confusing it gets. And now all of a sudden you're confusing the customer in terms of why are they there to buy whatever you're selling, and whatever mission that may be really important to you, but isn't necessarily important to the consumer, and or is just getting in the way of, like, what they're there to buy for. So I think there's a lot of thought that should be put into what is the mission about and how it is related to your potential product. So for example, this is a true story. There was an entrepreneur, and this person was amazing, but they called me up about like 6 years ago, and they were like, hey, I want to start a scarf company. And every scarf that we sell, we're going to donate to the suicide prevention hotline. And I was like, hey, I love that. And I think that, what you're trying to do with funding this amazing service is amazing, but I don't think it should ever be attached to this type of garment. And this individual was quite upset by that, but I was like, hey, I'm just genuinely trying to be as earnest as I possibly can. People don't necessarily want to be thinking about suicide when they're putting on apparel. Like that is not the fit you want in terms of that. So, maybe, and honestly, it's probably going to be detrimental to what you're trying to build. So I think purpose can be an amazing accelerant for whatever you're trying to build in a for-profit business, but it has to make sense with what is the actual consumer mindset when they're trying to make that purchase, and why are they there to shop.
Wow, that's an amazing insight, David, I must say. And as you said it rightly, I think it's when a consumer is buying thing, it's only thinking of what value add that product is doing. But I think it has to find that intersection with what the consumer wants to do and what the brand wants to do. I think they somehow kind of sometime overlap, sometime they may not. But as you said it rightly, I think ultimately consumer is the king. So constantly evolve, iterate, and move forward, I think. And I think the way you showed that comparison of your product bottles, I think, wow, that's amazing. I think it truly conveys how you are kind of implementing the learnings while executing all those plans going forward. Amazing. Good to know that. Carol, my next question for you, yes, we are a little less on time, but my next question for you is, you are a marketeer, and what advice would you like to give to existing brands or someone who wants to venture into retail or e-commerce space to launch a new product or service? What advice would you like to give them?
Well, we are a content creation company with a retail, which we make a lot of money on our retail, but two things that I've kept very committed to throughout my career. I launched my first website in 2000, and I started to learn from the the real grandfathers of internet marketing in the early 2000s. I was like the solo female in mastermind groups, with some of the best that really launched this whole industry in the early days of the internet. And one thing that I learned very early on that we stick to very solidly is my list is one of my most valuable things I own. We've acquired well over 4 million opt-ins over the years. We don't mail to all of those. We really fine tune our list so that it's we know who we're talking to, so that we're not just blasting people, because people are overwhelmed with so much email. But our emails are very we watch our open rates very closely and our click-through rates, so that we know that that our emails are successful, because we want to get people on my websites, because once they're on my website, it's like they're in my living room, and now they've given me their time, and I've got to now do my job once they've hit my space online very quickly to give them something of value. And so in our model, what's referred to as relationship marketing, now they've opted in, I've got their contact info. My priority is to create a connection, a relationship, and give them something of value before I even pitch them anything. And so our funnels are very much focused on that. So we watch very closely that data to see how our funnels are performing. And we also, on the other side of it, we know how to drive traffic. Right now, we're ranked anywhere between 9,000 to 10,000 in the United States on Alexa.
Wow.
And we invested in a really good SEO small consultant that he's probably increased our traffic 70%. And so we invested, we know what we've got to do on our end. We just got to get the eyes on it. We've got to create trust and value, because ultimately I don't pair with a charity, or I am known to help people change their lives for the better. So that's my good deed. Wow. That's my contribution, because their family, they love themselves more. Their self-esteem improves, their family life improves. They're very grateful for that, So all of my content is designed to support improving someone's quality of life. And so that's our value. Wonderful. That we give.
Excellent thoughts. Amazing. Thank you. Colm, one piece of advice that you would like to give to existing entrepreneurs or someone who wants to venture into an e-commerce or retail business?
Yeah, I suppose it's understanding that the brand and the business live apart, right? And sometimes you do stuff for the brand, and sometimes you do stuff for the business. Retail, like at the start, we had a strategy of like kind of being where a consumer is, but any dog on the street can tell you that. Where we really wanted to be is being where the tastemakers are, where the people, and you want to be kind of grow this critical mass, so they're like, we see you guys everywhere, wherever that beauty editor is buying her stuff on a Saturday morning, that's where you want to be. You're not going to drive any volume, and people think like when you go into these platforms, like Net-a-Porter is a great example. Like we do no volume in Net-a-Porter, neither does anyone, but it's great. It looks great. It looks fantastic. But it's great for the brand. Not good for the business, but it's great for the brand. And there's so many examples like that. And it's just going in with your eyes open and trying to kind of map out. And that applies to so many things across the business. And it really helps you, especially like say with press. Like press is phenomenal for the brand. It doesn't really do anything for the business. It allows you to have a conversation with big box retailers, and allows you to have a conversation on paid media. But in isolation, does nothing. But you have to build a strategy around it. So just understanding each tactic, and like retail is just another tactic to build a brand for me. And if you go to small places, like why are you really doing it? And thinking about the outcome and then assessing it after.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colm, for that advice. Amazing. Let me go to Jennifer. One piece of advice from your own experience that you would like to share with budding entrepreneurs and someone who's already in the business.
Yeah, and I just adding to what Colm said, I think that what's really important is that as you're creating your brand, really figure out what your differentiator is, right? There's so many competitive landscapes,
Yeah.
and what your story is, and make sure your story's on point, and that it's easy to tell, right? It's a simple story, but it makes a difference. It has, your differentiator in there, and just keep driving that home. Cause I feel like, I think what's the statistic? It takes someone 10 times to hear your story to really to push the button or something like that. So I really think that it has to be concise, it has to be effective, and it has to be a real differentiator.
Excellent, excellent. Differentiation. Wow, that's a very, very important thing. Amazing. How about you, David? One piece of advice that you would like to give?
Yeah, the most successful entrepreneurs that I've had the privilege of meeting all have one thing in common, and that is grit. There's good days, there's bad days. The more that you do it and the more years you put into it, the good days aren't as high and the low days aren't as low. But I consistently see like the resilience to see through the real tough times as the hallmark trait that I see of entrepreneurs that do wonderful things with their career.
Wonderful, excellent. A final piece of advice from Trevor.
I love what everybody has said so far. Mine kind of piggybacks somewhat off of what David said. I get this question asked a lot to me, hey, I'm a new entrepreneur, I'm trying to figure things out, what should I do? What I tell everybody is learn how to build up execution muscle memory. Execution is the hardest thing. As I have started multiple businesses, that's what I've learned. It's very, very easy to sit on an idea. Yeah. It's very, very easy to think about things. It's very, very easy to strategize about things. And when I say strategize, strategy is super important. But a business can't live with strategy alone. A business can live with execution alone. So if you can learn the execution side and then develop strategy, that's a recipe for success 100%. But if you're somebody who's just a big thinker, you got to learn that side. So I tell people, just build up muscle memory, even if it's something that, if it's something that you're just think about doing in your house, but you're not really doing, like getting up 5 minutes early, like you're executing on becoming better, going to bed 10 minutes sooner, waking up or eating healthy, learn how to just get this execution muscle memory, and it will bleed into your business and into your success.
Wow, excellent, man. I mean, that's amazing advice, I must say. This has been an excellent panel discussion today, having all of you. And I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you on behalf of my team at Enalito for taking out time today and joining the panel and sharing these excellent advice and insights that probably are unheard of. And I would like to kind of summarize what Carol has mentioned. I think she has touched upon something very, very interesting. And like when a consumer is visiting your website, it is into your living room. And the kind of experience that you can offer him will kind of define whether that consumer is going to stay with you longer and throughout their lifetime. That's something that I think brands are able to kind of inculcate throughout their experience funnel. Great things can happen. I mean, that can really make the lifetime value off the roof. Excellent. Carol, thank you so much for sharing that excellent insight. Colm has touched upon something very, very unique about brand and business. Your brand and business are kind of, though they sound the same thing, they're two different things. So brand, this is what you want to build for a lifetime. And as a business, I think it has its own goals, but I think you have to figure out how you can build your identity over a period of time by doing the right things. Jennifer has touched upon something very, very unique and interesting, which is know your differentiation. What is something that is unique about your brand, and that's what will drive growth for your business. And because we are living in a world where there's so much of competition, the only way you can grow is by knowing what your USPs are and that conveying those USPs in the best possible manner to your end consumers. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for sharing that insight and advice. David, I think David has mentioned that one word, grit. I forgot the name of the book, but there's a book by that name, Grit, and I think that's what matters in today's time where business is tough, and I think your passion and perseverance will define how big you can. Like companies like Apple, Amazon have grown over the years with that sheer determination, and that's when they become those consumer-centric brands by constantly thinking, evolving, and adapting. Not just they have evolved on their product philosophy and evolved on their product front, but how they do things, marketing things, and how they convey all of that, and the storytelling that they are able to do over the years. That's what has made them the biggest brand over the years. So thank you so much, David, for sharing those excellent insights and stories today. And Trevor also touched upon something really interesting. I think I'm going to use that a lot. I think building that execution muscle memory, because in a grand scheme of things, we get stuck with so many little tasks that's not actually contribute anything to our life, but we get stuck with it because they are tasks, and we keep on doing them over a period of time, but they do not add any value. So finding what are those key points and then executing them. And I think all those small things that one is able to do over a period of time, that's what defines the growth for your business. And Trevor, I think you might have read James Clear book, Atomic Habits. So that's what he has mentioned. And when you mentioned that point, it suddenly resonated with me as well. And that's something that every business out there has to do. Business is tough, but I think if we keep on doing what we are doing and constantly evolving and improving over a period of time, sky's the limit for growth. And with that, I'm really delighted to have all of you today with us. And I'll be in touch with all of you. I'll be sharing the panel discussion with you, and we would love to learn more from you going forward in our subsequent panels and summit. Thank you so much, Trevor, for taking out time today to join the panel. David, thank you so much. Jennifer, thank you so much once again. Carol, you are an inspiration. Thank you so much for joining today with us. Colm, thank you so much. Looking forward to learn more from you guys. Have a great week ahead and take care of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.